There's actually a lot of attempts of doing infinite detail engines for rendering, right? And this is technically the lowest quality infinite detail you will ever get. Because I barely understand what I'm doing. I'm entering space of GPUs, of using compute shaders and everything. Like, give me a break. Plus, every single one of these is an object that can rotate and move and scale, basically, do everything an object can do. So these can easily become zombies. However, what I cannot easily do is physics. Because my engine fucking sucks. Okay? It's just good for rendering. And technically, you can make like 50% of the games just with rendering alone. You don't need that many physics elements or a complex. Well, anyways, I'm gonna nerd out. If you don't understand anything at all about anything when it comes to computers and rendering, and you don't even understand how we use little triangles and send them to the screen, even I don't understand how you do that, by the way. I still don't know how to check whether a point is inside triangle. Well, technically I know. But then, how do you put a texture on a fucking triangle? And it's like, what? All of a sudden, polygons become complicated exponentially and really fast. You know what doesn't get complicated? Fucking Minecraft. Minecraft made games feel like they need a new rendering engine, basically. Because even though this technically looks bad, it can look 10 times better so quickly. With just good enough texture pack, you get the same effect as with the polygons. But also, people would demand that the game would be interactive, that you can actually destroy terrain and do all the nice things, like building as well, or finding valuables in caves. I don't know. So I was very interested. I'm already was hooked basically of worrying about this new rendering engine that would allow me to escape polygons because polygons are fucking nasty, dude. And maybe you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about by watching this video because I referred to Minecraft rendering a little bit. They do the thing called block culling, by the way. I I I don't know. I don't know if it's even correct name. I don't know most of the things, guys. And you would be like, why are you doing this if you don't know anything? Well, I don't have any friends who can do it for me, you know? You know how it goes? Many people have tried infinite detail engines, and I actually bump into them. It would actually be interesting to, well, talk about what they actually did. Because there's that one guy who just kind of never went into gaming. He just wanted to make a zoo because he's a fucking Australian. Congratulations. So he invented also hologram somehow. Despite actually promising this Euclideon guy that was like shaking the internet for so long because he was able to like 3D scan objects and put them in the game basically. Obviously these objects, they reoccurring objects. So as you ray trace or do searches of the screen searches, like you're gonna find these dots basically. You can see this is literally copied and pasted. It's not that complicated. I actually suspect that he does not do any physics, which is why he actually went into hologram because like doing physics is absolutely a nightmare for his engine basically. So he's like, how can I get money out of this? And he just kind of bailed. It is kind of a shame that we didn't get anything out of it. We didn't even get the functionality discovered basically of how it works. People were only guessing, and they were guessing pretty good things. Right, this is try to draw a line and try to get up the closest point to the line. If you draw the line this way, you're basically looking for points of y-axis. You basically get the y-axis points of A is going to be closest if you're here. B is going to be closest if you're here. If you start tilting the line, your life becomes miserable. Yeah. What is this trying to calculate? Again, the closest point to the line. Why is it trying to calculate the closest point to the line? Because by knowing what is the closest point, you can literally put an object here. You can put an object and then ray trace that object. That's the whole point of ray trace rendering, is to send a ray and hit an object that you want to hit, but where is it? How many objects do you have to check? And this is not raycast rendering, I don't think. I don't know, he just kind of like denounced it. We don't know. We don't know what it is. I know what I did across my career of trying to pull this off, basically. And I've did 2 generations of this engine. This was the first generation. And then this generation, even though there's like a lot of detail, these things cannot move, obviously. You know, they're just genuinely blocks. And technically, that's good enough for Minecraft. To make Minecraft worlds, right? You're not going to do particle simulation with this, but you can do pretty good Minecraft worlds, especially when you can actually dig deeper into detail. You're going to see like these micro builds, basically. Kind of simulating what I just showed you, where you can, in fact, copy and paste these things as well, but inside one block. I don't know. This was just the first engine, so I don't want to fucking talk about what is possible, because the possibilities are endless. It's just what I was able to reach. Yes, I was filming my screen with a fucking iPhone, or with a phone? I'm not sure. I think I had a phone back then. A lot of people even rendering these days. Like, let's say Samsung 6 or something. And I'm filming half of my room right now. I started like looking at polygons and how to grab a point inside a polygon. This works. This is not one polygon. Well, that would be stupid if it was actually not one polygon. But it's technically like a 5-point or 6-point polygon. I don't know. Or maybe it's just a crisscross polygon. It still works. And I haven't tested right now, but I would definitely be able to do it with 6 points. Like, you can make these shapes and call it one polygon, as long as it's a flat surface. I have a function for that. And I was trying to place a bunch of, like, weird-ass blocks, like spheres that you can ray trace, and you can do cylinders, basically. You can do weird shapes like that. But the most interesting part is obviously zooming in into, like, we're looking at cylinder. I kind of got stuck on this one, though. And didn't get any further than that with the Generation 1. But look at this, right? So, you can get greater and greater detail. This is one block size, but you can add any amount of blocks, and I can even manipulate what the grid size actually is inside these mini blocks. I call them mini blocks because they're made out of blocks, and you can continue ray tracing, basically zooming into these things. It's pretty badass. And then every single block can be transparent, half transparency that you can like ray trace through. All these simple ray tracing functionality still remain, and this is pretty much 60 FPS as well. So as you can see, any size, meaning that this one is bigger than the other one, and whatever. I can choose whichever. I was talking about the grid size. Surprisingly, I mean, I wasn't really... What?
I tried to, or I was thinking about...
I mean, that was kind of fun, though. And the funny thing is, the physics would work on this one. Physics in this one, easy. This is why Generation 1 is still kind of superior to Generation 2 of what I'm doing right now. But these blocks, they can't move.
Maybe
they're basically just data in the space, and you hit it with a ray, and then you assign some kind of texture and maybe a shader, but you can't move these blocks. Technically, in the most technical terms, my guy, I can combine these. I can have both, right? I can have terrain and I can have objects, and there still would be like sort of ray traced. Because what I'm doing is actually not exactly ray tracing. So Generation 1 is like the most obvious. The most basic if you try to do the rendering. But yeah, so we have polygons, right? And that shit's ugly. That shit's so ugly and disgusting that we need to do this. I don't know how people work with this bullshit. You know, they need so many handicaps to work with polygons. I can't do that. I open Blender and I'm like, ugh, what am I working with? Why is Blender still being used as a tool to do the 3D printing? I don't know how to use that shit. I like placing a block after block and removing blocks, and I understand how to do that. Removing polygons. Imagine doing a cylinder, right? Cylinder, and then it looks like this. And it's like, what? Why? If I remove this, if I remove a single polygon from a cylinder, I can't use this shape anywhere. I can't do anything. If I remove one block from a cylinder, I mean, like, nothing really happened. It's still a cylinder with a fucking hole, maybe. And I can remove blocks out of here and stuff to make it actually, like, super simple. A cylinder with a hole inside. But when we start removing polygons, I'm sorry, bro. Shit gets 10 times more complicated, even though we already had problems with textures. We already have problems with just triangles hitting the fucking screen. My rendering engine, the Generation 2 rendering engine, 500 plus lines, alright, of code. Technically, it's like 600 lines of code, and that's it. I'm pretty sure for polygon bullshit, you need 600 brain cells first. I only have 2, okay? I don't know how people fucking survived with this thing, by the way. It's like not inventing how to harvest wheat from the fields and make bread, basically. Like, we're still using this shit. And my problem is not to try and invent an infinite detail, unlimited detail engine. My problem to solve is just like, we need to stop. We need to stop making things complicated. However, this problem is technically being solved by AI, but even AI can't wrap its head around what the fuck are you guys trying to do. AI can easily understand point cloud data of like this point's supposed to be a little bit further away, but AI cannot actually wrap. Like even if we have point cloud data, right? AI still has to create triangles out of this bullshit. And it actually has a hard time doing that. I've seen AI try to, wrap the fucking meshes basically. And it's like, what are we doing? What the fuck is happening? Humanity has derailed into polygons, and I am crying. Me is baby. Wah. This is why I'm trying to, like, pull humanity. It's like, stop it. Stop doing that. This is crazy. So the first generation, Generation 1, Alright? The thing I showed you with microblocks, it is basically a big space, a big voxel space, and you just subdivide it over and over again, and you have a grid of things. And if the grid has a block called number 1, then you know what it is. If it says number 2, you know what it is. And there's technically a limit to how much number you can cram in there with the block ID. If you want to have a big space, you know, you might want to give it like 3 bits. No. Like, you could go to just, like, that many blocks. Like, how many blocks do you want to have? Maybe 1,000? 1,000 different blocks for a game? That sounds reasonable. And again, when you put the number inside, right? And it defines the object inside here. Now you can ray trace the object. Now you can do whatever the fuck you want. It can be a triangle, it can be a coin, it can be this flat shape, basically, of a sprite with a flat shape. That's easy to ray trace, basically. Like, you can add inside the block anything. That's the generation 1. You can add anything inside the block, but it's the moment you leave the block, we have a problem. Not only we have a problem of, like, what the fuck number do I have to write now that you're outside of the block, now that we are meshing together 2 things at the same time, and it's like, what if I mesh 3 things at the same time? And now you might be inside 2 blocks at the same time. So all of a sudden, the generation 1 idea breaks down very quickly and doesn't make much sense. Basically, you cannot scale the objects, you cannot have them move very much, you can have them rotate, but the moment you rotate something like this, even a little bit, all of a sudden you're in 4 places at once, maybe even 5 places at once, maybe even 9 places at once, and I have to actually send information of, like, you're over here, and over here, and over here, because you fucking rotated your stupid object. You're supposed to stay in a fucking box. I don't know how I can visualize that, because drawing a cube inside a cube is, like, absolute nightmare. But there will be points sticking out, and you have to actually address that issue. Just because you rotated a block. Now, generation 2, I went a whole different direction. Because this is like a baby game. Anyone can do this, guys. And more people should do that. Invent physics for this thing. Do all kinds of things. But the real question is, like, there's so many people doing the same thing, basically. They're trying to, like, pull this engine into reality, all this infinite detail shit. But they're so unorganized. Like, they're good programmers, but they terrible presenters of this stuff. So we have this, right? There's 2 channels, basically, attempting to solve this problem, and they kind of did. So we have a humble opinion and then update video. Humble opinion we're going to skip because it doesn't matter when we have already an update. But there's update to an update. It's just different person doing it. So it's like, yeah, I understand this is the y-axis. This is technically where the points are going, but then all of a sudden you rotate. And now I have to recalculate everything. And you can kind of recalculate these points for most of the angles. And then you just, I don't know. You can raycast. Now, this guy was stuck in a corner, pretty much. No?
idea same as the last demo.
Okay, he wasn't. He was stuck last episode. This one is fucking hard to actually wrap my head around. This engine of trying to find like the nearest point to the ray, like it's hard. I kind of lose my mind trying to understand this thing. Even though it's sort of doable. But you just fucking bend this line. You rotate this line. It's over. From like a straight line to this, my mind starts melting. There's not a lot of rotations, but we're first talking about 2D space. Imagine rotating that shit in 3D space. And now you're fucked. It's over, dude. This is why this project kind of died. There was a dude who had a voice, and now there's a dude who has no voice. He just has like cool animations. Oh, hi there. And he was able to pull this off, which is pretty nice. Like pretty fast FPS. There's a lot of dots on the screen. Technically showing the concept works, and you just need to translate into 3D space. But super sorted. Yeah. But this is still like 11 years ago, it's still too complicated for me. I sort of relatively understand what's going on, but I would lose my mind very quickly. Like, it doesn't matter what the fuck he talks about. I can, like, rewatch the video, and I will still not understand, I swear. I can say maybe things that I understand. Panic attacks from unfulfilled algorithmic potential syndrome. Yes, thank you. He does look like he's South American. Wanted to fucking revolutionize the world with this tropical, ragged image on the screen. One thing I noticed that is like so fucking annoying is hello. Yeah, here you go. Silhouette rendering. This one kind of made me quite interested of like what's actually going on here. Like he's losing all these points basically that he cannot possibly render, and it's like, okay, you just messed things up for us. Because all of a sudden they couldn't get at all anywhere basically. Like 2D rendering it's not even a fucking achievement of any kind. Plus, I don't know how compatible it is to learn something like this and apply it to compute shaders, because I'm using compute shaders. I'm pretty sure this would also use compute shaders, these polygon bullshit. But I really want to escape polygons. Like, they give me PTSD at this point. They give me of, like, humanity is being tortured right now, and I don't know what to do about it. Vibes. Vibes, guys. So, Generation 2, my friends. Well, we'll get to that, I guess. I don't know. I'll react, because technically I want to do Generation 3, maybe. Maybe there's more to it. Maybe we just combine these two together. I don't know. That sounds like a pretty cool thing to do. I can easily combine these two together because they're not polygons. Yep. I can even do kind of like a rugged terrain, by the way. It's not that hard, as long as you like doing blocks. Someone actually did it, by the way. Someone did the raycast rendering shit, where you can have like any shape. I don't know, man. That was kind of crazy. I don't know if I can bring it back to life. I'll put a video like this into like achievement category. Personal achievements. To just even have this around is pretty crazy. Voxel raycast terrain. Is this the guy? Yeah, this looks like shit, to be honest. This looks horrible. This looks like I can do that pretty easily. Because these are just blocks. But, for a naked eye, this looks fucking tremendous. Amazing. And you check these slopes, right? And all of a sudden you're like, wow, you can like apply a different color. But you don't even have to. You just put grass on top and it becomes this Minecraft terrain. This is already amazing. And easy to do. Incredibly easy. Although, look at the corner of the screen. That shit happens. That shit happens. Pretty easy fix, I imagine. Even that shit happens to me, guys. I want to see if it for real. It's a for real thing right now. Because it doesn't really happen. It's just kind of weird, actually. But there can be artifacts. So the way I'm looking at, no, nothing. No problems in the corners. So you can have like all kinds of blocks that have like certain type of quality that have like a bumps in there. Because you're ray tracing, so you can do whatever the fuck you want. Ray tracing opens up possibilities for additional detail in terms of like additional noisy detail. And I love that shit. It's a lot easier to do water, not only water waving around, but also being transparent. Because you raycast through the water. And all of a sudden, like, things get so much easier. Easier to understand, and you don't actually look for polygons here, because this is just a bump map, almost. That ray tracing can actually do pretty well with. And we're just talking about rendering. The moment we're gonna add lighting to everything, it's a whole different fucking level of expertise, basically. Adding water, adding lighting, adding physics. Like, please help my poor soul comprehend any of that shit. So basically, Generation 2 is, I can do whatever the fuck I want. With the caveats that I don't get that much FPS, or I don't get that much resolution. You know, so, we have low res, low FPS. It's not really low res and low FPS. It is still a question mark, simply because I might have not optimized the damn thing. And I'm still trying to optimize right now, as we speak. I will be implementing today something that might give me plus 10 FPS. Low FPS means 30. And 30 is actually playable. 30 you can do most of the things that games can do. Alright? And you can do things that other games cannot do because you're spawning like 1,000,000 objects and you're removing those 1,000,000 objects and spawning another 1,000,000 objects. You can do crazy shit with that. That is the biggest takeaway. You cannot remove and add polygon things easily. Especially if they have colliders, but colliders we're talking about physics. Even without colliders, it's pretty difficult to actually just spawn one of these. This can spawn 1,000,000 a frame. You can spawn 1,000,000 objects a frame. Now, you cannot actually store 1,000,000 objects in your computer, but you can have 1,000,000 objects at a given time on your screen doing whatever the fuck you want them to do. Except these objects would be solid in Generation 1, and these objects would do whatever they want in Generation 2. And I wonder what I can actually pull off, because I can probably pull off some crazy effects. I haven't actually dug into the effect world, but you can do so much, bro. I actually wish, like, this is a cry for help, or I'm a cry help, guys. I need people who would dig potential. All right, the same way I want to give anxiety to you guys. I need people who take my engine and create something out of it. Alright? And it's not difficult, I swear. And I will give you the code, I will give you all the expertise you need to create things, basically. But this is just 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks. There's a grass block on top of dirt block, by the way. This is why it's flickering, because there's a lot of blocks in here. And there's a, you know, flower. Grass texture, flower texture. These are just very simple textures. And this is just a flat object, right? So you can create anything. You can change their size if you want. You can change their rotation. You can make them animated, sort of. You can do whatever you want. So I want to know what is possible already. I want to give this to anyone. Come to my Discord. I will give you anything you need. To basically start working on this thing. But I'm not sure how many people would respond. Like, 700 views is actually still not enough for people to give a fuck at all. But I still gonna, like, push the message out there from time to time. So people actually start transitioning. Even one person transitioning from polygons to these ray tracing methods. You are exploring a new territory for me. And for everyone, every programmer who's stuck in this fucking island of stupid shit, you are helping them right now. So please, join and create visualizers, basically. For the people who want to know what is actually possible, because the possibilities are endless when you can put 1 million objects on the screen. Easily. There's some flickering going on. I will fix that shit. It's gonna be smooth. And if nobody steps in, I will start making visualizers, essentially. I mean, I want to use it for YouTube Rewind, so I will make something fucking cool, okay? So how does this work? Because this is very simple. You ray trace from one block to the other and raycast in sides, whatever objects lay inside, and you cast a bunch of rays from your camera, basically. And they can travel very quickly through these blocks. And whether the block is occupied or not, it helps basically determine and move on, basically, for the ray to move on faster. And you can have pretty good resolution with this and pretty good FPS. This drops down significantly when you try to move things around and put them on the screen in a different way. So let's say we take a block, right? And now I have to have a screen for the block. It is on the screen. I definitely make sure that that's the case. And then I start tracing the block parameters. I create a box, I create a circle, and I make sure that we grab only the pieces the block truly occupies. This is the first optimization. Alright, we're going to send this to the screen. This information. And this information that we're sending, basically, goes into a separate array of all these, like, green arrays. Alright, every green block is an array of information. So the object goes here, another object goes here, another object goes here, and I shut down the array by removing empty space. I shrink down until there's only objects left. Alright? Basically make it solid or whatever, I don't know. Well, these would be objects entering. So what I'm doing, actually, I'm scanning every single object. There's a million objects. I scan every single object and I send it to the screen. The screen splits the object into little fucking tiny pieces. And there's no polygon. I don't need polygon because we're going to ray trace the object. Whatever the object is, I don't care. I just have the bounding information. If it's rotated like this, by the way, I mean, this would capture, technically, right? But I also have this. And I'm not sure exactly how to draw. I think it would be this. I think the bounding box would look like this, actually. I have this bounding box, I have this bounding box, and it stretches in all directions, so it can become a rectangle. And I have a circle right now. Kind of nice, right? I hope it's... I hope I don't do the X soon. Anyways. Then it's PlayStation. Then I don't have copyright for this rendering engine anymore. Anyways, that was a joke. That was a joke. But yeah, I have two ways to determine how much stuff do I have to send on the screen and how much culling basically to do. So if something is outside of the bounding box, I just don't send it to the screen. Now that I send all the objects to the screen, it's very easy, basically. That's it. That's all you need to know. Every single little cube of information is going to send object data. Yes, the object is going to appear in multiple arrays, which is not really efficient, but now you just ray trace. You shrink down this, and you ray trace. That's it. You ray trace this object, and that object, and every single one of these blocks basically ray trace on their own terms. Also, a ridiculously simple system that gives you ability to have moving objects, which is very nice. You can have it anywhere on the screen. There's one more downside, as I've mentioned. Physics? Yeah. I can't do physics. Alright, this is the limitation, unfortunately. If you want physics, you'll have to do it on the main pipeline of Unity or whatever, right? I do everything on Unity. If you haven't fucking noticed, I mean, it's pretty obvious. But, you probably will have to do your own physics by summoning colliders. Bye. Goodbye. I'm sorry about that. Technically, Minecraft does not have that much physics going on. You just want to have an object be able to land on the block, be able to bump into blocks around, and that's it. Like, that's it. That's all the Minecraft physics you've ever needed. Yes, you bump into a block above you in every direction, but that's literally it. And it would still be difficult using this method to actually create physics. Maybe you put all of these objects into some kind of grid system, and then maybe there's some kind of way out of this, but it's not easy to do physics. I'm just saying. And we already have only 30 FPS to work with, so I'm not gonna get much out of this. Alright? This is as far as I can go personally. Unless we do Generation 3, which would potentially be one of those proximity detectors, basically. Because that's what I'm thinking right now. I sort of understand what these guys are trying to say. This crazy. This crazy shit in here. Alright? And maybe we can, like, get, like, relatively close points or whatever. It's not that bad. But it's so fucking annoying. Basically, what you need for Generation 3 to work, you need to know what is the closest point, what is the closest neighbor, as efficiently as possible. I'm thinking like this, like, what they're inventing is a list. Super sorted. They say super sorted. Fuck off, dude. What a list can do is actually mind-blowing. If you know what a list is, it is mind-blowing what it can do. Because it does not have a determined size. You can just keep adding things to it forever. But the most important part about being able to not have a determined size is that how many objects you need inside a list, or how many points you want, you can just add them and subtract them easily. You can insert objects inside without moving things around. Because in array, if you have 5 elements, right? I occupy this space and I occupy this space and this and that. Inserting is impossible. You cannot insert without reading this object and then putting it over here, reading this object, putting it over there, and it's still complicated because this object already occupies. So, like, you have to make sure that you bring this space over here, and like, my brain defeated. Already we're talking about the same shit of like polygons versus ray tracing. The same goes with arrays and lists, my friends. Lists is how I created the fastest sorting system in the world. It's just people don't want to fucking use lists right now. What is wrong with you? Use list. Invent list for compute shaders, please. For fuck's sake. Because now I have to do it myself. List is literally just pointers, basically, of going forward and backwards. These are pointers. So you can insert because technically, if I insert another element, it will point to this object and it will point, oh, I have to loop back to this object, basically, right? It goes forward and backwards, so one of them goes here and one of them loops over there. If I insert point over here, I have to pick this pointer pointed at this object, pick this pointer pointed at this object, basically break into the array. And this is so beautiful because it has this functionality of just adding as many elements as you want. However, these pointers are pretty costly. They're expensive, but they're useful for sorting. Absolutely. If you want to sort, you want to insert things inside the array. One way or the other. I'm sorry, bro. My fastest sorting method in the world, and I still stand by this. I'm not sure if this is going to be confirmed or not. I don't know who fucking does these things anymore. Because people just write hate comments. Even in programming, they write hate comments. They try to fucking debunk, basically, before they even fucking tested the damn thing. So, you have a lot of empty space and you start entering objects relatively where they would go. I mean, in most sorting situations, you kind of know the range, or you can double check the range. If you don't know, you can double check the range, and then you start adding objects, and then you shut down the array, just like here. It's the same sorting method, by the way. You add objects relatively based on distance, because that's what you want to ray trace. You want to ray trace the closest objects and the furthest away, based on the array, right? It wants to like try this, try that, and goes on in a linear way, right? Until it fulfills all the pixel. It grabs all the pixels you want, then the array ends, or the array runs out of, steam because it's starting to like decay, basically. And it's not worth to chase that one pixel that potentially there's nothing for it anyways. Nothing's gonna hit that pixel anyways. And we like broke through like 10 objects. So the array just dies. That's what I do. I just kill the array eventually. After like 10 objects. I don't know. So, this is the same sorting method. This is the same fastest sorting method that I needed for the rendering engine. I kept saying that. Except this is array, by the way. You can still do it on array, which has a lot of empty elements, and this would still remain as empty array because all the empty elements go here. It's just like, it's very simple sorting style of adding things where they would relatively go. And I actually even do like an exponential thing. So, like maybe power of 0.85. Yeah, there's power of 2, there's power of a half, which is a square root. There's power of 85, which I chose to kind of lay down the blocks, and even further away blocks could still enter the array, basically. But this is not set in stone. There's so many changes that I can make. And that's like relative to the distance. That's where the objects are going. Relative to the distance that I close it, and then I raycast. So that's basically it. But with list, you don't have to actually worry about that empty space too much. Or you don't actually have to have much empty space because you're just inserting objects. Yeah, they have to be resorted a little bit. You have to add another sorting on top of this, which makes things a little awkward, but you have to insertion sort. Just to fix, like, there's gonna be like 6 errors or whatever, right? 6 discrepancies of objects kind of like mixing with each other. Especially on a list, it's a lot worse than on an array. So I don't know. It doesn't really matter in my case. Which could be a problem because like I was like misleading you, right? Like arrays are still pretty good as long as you close them and throw the discard empty space basically somewhere else after you're done with the array, because you still want to move things around. But lists still have pretty powerful things. So why do I need list for something like this? To find the nearest closest point. Why would I need a list? And I'm like, I'm not exactly sure, but not only people don't use list, people don't even know that potentially two-dimensional list exist. And I'm not talking about, no, even if I talked about list inside a list, what does that even mean, right? And the reality is, if we go back to this just analogy of this, let me show you something. So if we actually can do these rays very easily, if we can shoot a 360 ray very easily, right? Very likely, we just need 360 lists for every single angle. In order to find the nearest point, we also find the nearest sorting through angles. So we sort every single object into the list. That's what I expect is going on, basically. They're sort of like inventing these like lists or whatever. I wouldn't use array for this. Technically. I mean, the amount of objects that you have is going to be the amount of elements in the array. And then you can have that many arrays, basically, rearranging the angle. I'm not sure how many. You probably don't need 360 angles. You just need to be relatively good at getting that angle. But that would make things a lot more simple than just like some kind of super sorting bullshit. Like, what are you even doing? Like, there's no one can understand this shit. But having list of list or array of arrays, which is just a two-dimensional array, and then you just, pre-calculate what would be the closest thing when it comes to this array, right? Because array goes into infinite space, and again, based on the y-axis, what is the closest thing to the y-axis? The closest thing to the y-axis is whatever is closest to 0 on x-axis. So the closest thing to this angled array is the closest thing that is to the 0 of this angle, right? And you just find these points. So it's actually relatively easy to find the closest point to something, right? And if you don't find it, you just plug in more rays until you are finding things very easily, right? So there's this generation 3 method that people have already poked but haven't actually put it into reality right now. And I'm very interested in this. I will start researching eventually, right? I still want to finish the Generation 2, and Generation 3 is not going to happen until next year. We're not even going to, like, do anything about it. Alright? You can still accelerate, you can still jump into Discord and accelerate my progress in this endeavor. And I still don't know what the fuck this blue line is doing. I'm panicking, guys. I just touched Jimp in a funny way. Anyways. So what is there to do for this engine or generation? I'm not sure. I'm really locked into this, and I want to see what I can do with this, like, 2D list of, like, wow, that sounds cool. Even though that's probably not going to happen. I'm not exactly sure what is supposed to happen. I mean, you can relatively not only sort points, but you can disqualify anything behind you. But that's, like, easy, right? I'm not sure. It's complicated. Or it's very easy, I don't know. It could be fucking easy. The only question that I really have is how many rays I have to do, because all the rays have to kind of track of every single object. Now, the funny thing is, well, it's not actually fun. The funny thing is how the fuck do we still, like, render the damn thing? And what do is getting the closest point still good enough to even create a rendering engine? That is my question, actually. I don't think it is. It's gonna be that easy. I mean, I don't know. Like, if you shoot a ray and you know the closest thing at a given time, you run into one interesting problem. And some dude already showed this, basically. If you cast a ray, let's say your camera is here, and it's shooting this ray, it will circle, and it will continue walking until here. It will get the nearest point, which is this, and it will travel because, well, we're not hitting that one. Then it will circle again. It will travel. It hit this nearest point. It can't disqualify this point in particular, but okay. It still reads a lot of data. And it keeps disqualifying itself with these fuckers. It's like, what? What? Now, technically, what we just discovered, what these guys are doing, they're casting an entire array and they're getting an entire list of closest points that could be candidates for rendering. The problem is the rendering itself. Like, how do you render? What do you actually do? Because this one, it makes sense how you render. This one also makes sense. You're just sending a bunch of fucking rays, and those rays can split over time into smaller rays, depending on, like, the situation, right? And you can increase the resolution that way. But this does not make sense right now that it can actually become an easy rendering engine. And the most thing that does not make sense, the most important thing that does not make sense is this. I don't think people decoded how this shit fucking works. It is scary, bro. Well, technically, people got close enough to where, like, if you show the silhouette thing, right? And it's like, yeah. And that's like 3D scan as well of an object. That's how they did it. Like, they showed, like, the 3D scan of fucking rock, basically, and they put it in the world. They 3D scanned some kind of leaf. They put it in the world. They showed most of the things. So it's very likely that this is how they did the thing. It's just like, it is very incompetent to not actually finish this engine for 3 dimensions. Because then it would actually blow people's minds. Right? And it's not that difficult to do. In a way. The problem with that is that you do need to have a lot of these fucking points defining an object. And I don't have time for doing 3D fucking things. Again, this is not my video. This is some fucking dude from 11 years ago who haven't uploaded a single video or replied to comments. Pretty much. He's just gone. Unfinished projects. The dude's just gone. Alright, let me know what you guys think, and I'll leave you guys with some Euclideon footage, because that shit's blowing minds.
I'm Bruce Robert Dell, the CEO of Euclideon.
Yeah, he's way too professional on this. It's so annoying. Like, yeah, you get all these points. Polygons, bro. 530.
That doesn't
Let's
use
go, then.
procedural generation, getting a lot.
It just doesn't make sense to do polygons when you can just extract a tiny point out of a polygon anyways, because it's a fucking tiny polygon. Right? It makes no sense. So you just, like, ray trace this shit. And even that, you have to pick what is the most important points to ray trace, to grab. Now, people really like the idea for some reason of having infinite detail, while I'm just fucking swimming in Minecraft voxel nonsense, basically. But I don't know. I don't see much, like, value out of this. And the dude actually turns this elephant statue into a whole zoo exposition, basically. It's not even that crazy.
These are
And people actually complain at the very start that these things cannot do animations, and it's like, yes, they can. Yes, they can do animations. It's kind of surprising that nothing in the scene actually moved, because they can probably move pretty easily. It was a very interesting question to ask of, like, why isn't things moving? Like, at least move a leaf, I don't know. I'm very certain that these objects can, in fact, move.
grains of dirt. In fact, there are a square meter of dirt.
Yeah, it makes sense. And it's like, it's mind-blowing back in the day, but, like, it actually makes sense. You just have a bunch of, like, objects rotated and placed as dirt, as little grains of dirt. And here's a leaf. Like, the dude actually pulled off a very impressive thing here. And I can do something similar. It's just the power of ray tracing is just so cool. First, you pick the objects that would relatively be rendered, and then you check what pixels you can grab from the object. And if you zoom in, you zoom out, it doesn't fucking matter too much, but it's still incredibly impressive, even thinking about that. Even thinking about this as 12-year-ago project, like, it's still, I can't wrap my head around it, guys.
Came up with this, but remember to see where our
And yeah, this guy played the arrogant role in there of not actually disclosing any information. It's just so fucking pissy-washy businessman venture. Like, we will have to pull his pants down, unfortunately. He's way too arrogant with this revolutionary thing that could actually change gaming, and he's just, like, making zoos out of it. It's, like, so fucked up, man. So I'm trying to, like, actually bring this relatively to life. Like, this actually looks much better, and this fucking, like, renders way further than mine, because it has, like, these, like, complicated objects that can actually populate the screen. Mine is just a simple block. If I carve the block and I scale in an interesting way, I can pull off this. Again, this is just a copy-paste, technically, of the same object, and you can, like, rotate and whatnot. Like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how far I will get with my engine, but this is not that crazy.
technology ends up going, when there's more syncopation with other
And my friends, one problem I want to talk about, right? Lighting. This has, like, a shitty lighting, and it's the most complicated thing to actually do. Lighting. And also, don't bully anyone, because people are on different scales of how much they have learned about all this technology. And it's actually very difficult to traverse and learn all these things. Like, the things that I'm doing, these generations, I'm trying to oversimplify things so I can actually understand and I can explain it to other people. And I don't have to, like, really think too much about it, because it's already, like, taking incredible amount of stamina to actually pull off one of these things. If you focus years and years, you can do crazy things. Absolutely. I did many things across my life. If I focused, I would probably have pulled off the final generation of like the best possible situationship, basically. I'm still scared that this cannot do physics. That this can only send image to the screen, but when it comes to grabbing the closest things, in terms of spatial awareness, I don't think it can do that very easily. I think even in the zoo, this guy animated and moved the elephant, the dinosaurs. He was able to move them, but he was not able to actually create physics for that thing. That's my well, theory, I guess. It's cool that he did reflection, like that's crazy as well. Everything is technically this is just one big block. Imagine that. But not really. It's so fucking crazy in here. It's so crazy. You would want to explore a world like this. It's such a shame that it's not even released.
That meter of dirt.
The dude is so arrogant, he never released any of this shit. He just made a zoo out of it. And here you go. End of story. I will give a little bit of that zoo thing and go away. Because zoo is like the current thing, alright? Zoo is 1 year ago thing.
Times of year.
And he was able to do that very, 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 very quickly, dude. In very great detail. All of these things in great detail and very quickly.
Like Africa, North Pole, Asia, and Australia.
Because he has the fucking great engine for himself. You know? I'm not sure how he did the hologram thing, but pretty sure that without polygons, without overhead and all the layers of complexity, he was able to pull off that shit much easier. Or simply he knew how other competitors do things and was able to just pull things with just fucking 3D glasses, right?
A gift to take her North Pole, Asia of year.
But now that he's on a business venture, he completely missed the points of bringing this technology for a wider public. Because he can't make money out of it. It's like, I don't know, man. That's not where all the power comes from money. Because even if you have all the money, now you have to learn how to invest money into other places. And you could just give the idea, you know, of how things work. But don't worry, guys. We're going to make something work ourselves. All right? I mean, it does look like there's physics. But I'm thinking this is pre-animated. There's no fucking way that has physics. I call bullshit on that. I think he went for the zoo thing because it's just animated. It's so much easier to animate. There's like games in there. But the games are like so simplified. I'm still thinking physics is a problem. Now, I'm not sure how they did lighting, by the way. Lighting is the most actually impressive part about this. Lighting and shadows. It's probably another pre-baked bullshit. So I'm not gonna give too much thought about it.
You'll see.
It's just the dude found a way to monetize his thing. And that's it. End of story. I think it's end of story, guys. I don't think we're gonna get anything out of this. Bro actually showed up in like a Shark Tank episode or whatever. But it's different. Elevator pitch. Wow, look at that.
Another market.
This is the final episode, guys. Of the dude just like asking for more money. Because he wants to open more zoos across the world, basically. Invest into me, please. And of course, you absolutely have to invest into this if you're an investor. But I'm interested in more important things, okay? Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. Because I really, in detail, there's not a lot of details about my thing, okay? It's pretty simple. But the dude actually spent his whole life purpose was to make this engine. And you can actually do it. You can do crazy things here. And very simple things. Simple things that anyone can actually control in tremendous ways. And most importantly, we can make a better Minecraft. Make Minecraft great again is all I'm saying right now. Thanks for watching.